today I left the real world, or more previously known as Hustlers University, which was created by this guy. So let's get into why after 2 years I left the real world and why I'm even making this video. Now, one thing I need you to know is that I'm not intending to make a negative type of video just to get views. But actually, in reality, I've made well over 6 figures using Andrew Tate's The Real World. So it's not like I'm telling you to not join just because I left, but I'm just telling you that I joined, this is my experience, this is why I left, and that's it. I joined back in 2022, so it's like a long time ago. It was actually right around the time where you would just go on TikTok or Instagram and 90% of the content on your feed is just Andrew Tate short form content, which would end up trying to sell you on Hustlers University at the end of the videos, and I mean, it worked on me. But anyways, when I joined the real world for the first time, the first thing that I noticed that it was kind of like a Discord server. So when you're paying almost like $50 a month, I mean, I was hoping to see something a little bit more creative or different. But again, that was just when I first joined, and I haven't even talked to anyone yet or gone through any of the courses. Speaking of the courses, I'm not even gonna lie, most of them actually have made me a shit ton of money, because over the past 2 years I kind of set a challenge for myself that I wanted to see if it's possible to make money with every single course inside the real world. Not all of them worked, but as I said earlier in the video, I did make well over 6 figures in the real world. And yeah, like the main reason I left now is because I feel like I've gone through everything and tried all the courses in there and made the most amount of money possible. I mean, the only reason that I can think of to stay is because of more possible networking opportunities. But again, I've done more than enough networking and I feel like I want to spend my time somewhere else. So actually, from the perspective of a complete beginner, I highly do recommend that you join the real world for at least 1 month, because there's a lot in there that you can learn from his courses, and there's so many amazing people in there that you can meet which will help you make more money. Anyways, another reason I decided to leave the real world is because it can actually be a huge distraction from the work that you're supposed to be doing. Like right now, for example, I'm trying to focus more on my main YouTube channel, but I often find myself just talking to people on the real world all the time and trying to work on new business models. And what you should do is choose one of the courses in the real world and make that one your main focus. Now, here's the problem, especially for a lot of beginners. It's that when they're offered such a massive selection of ways to make money, they end up thinking they can put their focus into every single one at the same time, which is never going to work. Like, if you want to make money, pick one course and just try making money with that for months or even years until it eventually works. Now look, I want to tell you about how I made over 6 figures inside the real world so you don't waste your time. Like, the last thing you want to do is spend like $50 a month for a whole year and not get anywhere. So when you join the real world, here's what you want to do. You need to be fully committed and you need to pick one business model. From my personal experience, I literally tried every single business model inside the real world, but only a few of them stood out. Now, make sure you write these down, because at least one of these is what I highly recommend learning: e-commerce, content creation, and copywriting. Forget about the rest of the courses in the real world, because these 3 are truly the ones that make the most millionaires. I'm not just saying this because they all worked for me, but also from what I've seen with other students in Hustlers University. And if I wanted to rank them, e-commerce would be number 1, content creation would be number 2, and copywriting would be number 3. It's actually no surprise that I only started making money with e-commerce a few months after I joined the real world. Before that, I was trying to make money with e-com for like a year, but I never had any success. And the reason it eventually worked out was not just because of the course videos and the information inside the real world, but also because of the support. Normally, when I faced a bump in the road or had a problem when I was building a Shopify store, for example, I'd have to go searching for how to fix it all over the internet. But when I was in the real world, I just went through the e-commerce campus and I asked other students in there what they did to overcome the obstacles. So it made things a lot easier and it saved me a lot of time. Now look, you have to be careful with who you take advice from, because in reality, 90% of the members in the real world are just there because they're Tate fanboys. They end up joining the platform, not learning anything, and just wasting everyone's time, which will make you think, is this actually a platform for networking or is it just a cult for Andrew Tate? To be honest, it's a little bit of both. When I first joined, I just had the initial thoughts of going into it and trying to make money and networking and all that. And had I known that a large part of it was just a cult, it probably would have influenced my decision on whether I wanted to actually join or not. I mean, I definitely don't regret it now because I've made a shit ton of money from it. Don't get me wrong though, it's still a beneficial platform because you will network with people that will open up opportunities for you. And you only get that simply because you're a member of the real world. So in that way, it's good for you, but you need to think about who you're actually going to network with. Like I said, a lot of the members in there will kind of seem like they're the same person because they're all just trying to be like Andrew Tate, which could be a good thing interesting, but it gets too much when they're just copying him exactly. Like, honestly, I don't really care about chess, for example. It's not gonna help me in any way in terms of making money, and I'm just not interested in it. So yeah, I basically now feel like I've gotten the maximum amount of knowledge and resources that I can out of the real world, which is why I decided to leave and put my focus somewhere else. But if you haven't joined yet, you've still got a long journey ahead of you, so I'll leave the link to the real world in the description of this video. Anyways, I mentioned earlier that I made over 6 figures with the real world, but I'm not the only one that found success with the platform. Let me tell you about another guy I met through the platform, and let's just call him Guy. This guy was a total beginner when he first joined the real world, and I remember he wasn't even sure if he had made the right choice. He was working at Popeyes and barely had any savings, but he actually decided to give the real world a shot. So then he started with the e-commerce course just like I did. But the thing is that he wasn't much of a tech guy, and setting up his first Shopify store was kind of a struggle, to be honest. Like, I was struggling watching him do it. But the thing about him was that he didn't give up, and slowly but surely he actually started seeing progress. Like, guys, this is literally the formula to success. You just have to stay consistent. Anyways, within about 6 months, he had built a profitable store that was making him a few $1,000s a month. But he didn't stop there. He reinvested the profits he made into growing the business by testing new products and maximizing his marketing strategy. And this guy was like one of the first connections that I made when I joined. And by the end of his first year, his store was generating over $50,000 a month in revenue. And the best part is that he didn't just keep all of that knowledge to himself. He started helping other beginners in the real world community and sharing the knowledge and the strategies that worked for him. So it's basically a loophole because everyone helps each other and new people keep joining all the time and helping each other make money. But yeah, this guy, he became a mentor to many people in the real world. And his success story inspired a lot of students to push through with their own stores. That's what I found really valuable about the real world. It's not just about the courses, but it's about the community and the connections that you make. People like Guy are proof that with the right mindset and support, you can achieve way more than you ever thought possible. So actually, let me go ahead and show you what the real world looks like when you join as a brand new member. This way, you can see for yourself what you're gonna get before paying $50 a month. So this is what the inside of the real world looks like. And basically, when you pay the first $50, you create your login information, and then you click on a link that takes you here to the platform itself. And generally, as for the community, you have all the different chat rooms here under the real world section, and then the rest of these, like all these icons, are the actual courses inside the real world. So you'll have things like Hustlers Campus, copywriting, e-commerce, crypto, and the rest of them. And each course obviously has the course videos, it has its own resources and its own chat rooms, so you can discuss the specific course. Now, I know some of you might still be wondering, is the real world really worth $49 a month? It's a valid question, especially if you're still on the fence about joining. One concern I often hear is that it's just a glorified fan club for Andrew Tate. And yeah, like I said, there's definitely a portion of the community that's there just because they're Andrew Tate fans. But the real value comes from what you do with the information and the knowledge and the connections that you make. For example, when I first joined, I wasn't sure if the investment would pay off. $49 might not sound like a lot, but it adds up, especially if you're staying in there for months. And in most third world countries, when you convert the currency from dollars to their local currency, it's actually a large portion of their monthly income. But here's the thing, you can get your money's worth if you're serious about applying what you learn. So don't join if you're not planning on going all in. Another concern is whether beginners can really succeed with the courses offered. And I get it, going into something like e-commerce or copywriting can seem overwhelming, especially if you've never done it before. But that's why the community aspect is so important, and I'm talking about the people in there who are making money. Bro, you're not just buying courses, you're literally joining a network of people who have been where you are and can guide you through the process. I've seen beginners myself in the community, the real world, who had no idea how to start their own business, but they stuck with it and asked questions and followed the steps that were laid out in the course, and many of them have gone on to make significant amounts of money. I'm talking enough money to quit their day jobs or to even start other businesses. But here's the catch, success isn't guaranteed, which is why it only costs $49. The real world provides the tools, but it's up to you to put in the work. If you're expecting overnight results without effort, I'm not gonna lie to you, you'll end up disappointed. That's why I always tell people to be prepared to grind and work hard and pull all-nighters, because the real world is not a magic bullet, but it truly is a solid framework if you're willing to hustle and put in more work than your competitors. So yeah, other than that, we now know that the main reason I left the real world is because I've been in there for 2 years and I feel like I've gotten the most out of it that I can. But if you've never joined, now is the perfect time to do so, because there's even more courses and information than when I first joined 2 years ago. So I'll leave the link in the description if you want to join, and ultimately the decision is yours. Also, make sure you watch the next video, which should be up somewhere on your screen. In that one, I tried Iman Gadzi's Digital Launchpad course, which you can watch and compare it to the real world and then make a decision on which platform you want to join. With that being said, have a great day and like and subscribe for more content.